Alright, you're gonna have to crawl under there and get those big ones in there.
I am not crawling in there. You couldn't pay me enough money to crawl in there. It's probably snakes and spiders.
Oh, you wimpy whimperson. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. I'm videoing so don't scream like a girl.
Don't say snake. And I won't. That one.
Don't even. Hey guys, well, as you can see, we are harvesting gourds today, and normally we would just leave these on the vine all winter long and all spring to dry out, but I really want to take these vines off of this fence and compost the vines, so I'm harvesting mine a little early. You do want to wait until you see some dieback on the vines before you harvest your gourds, because you want to make sure your gourds are fully mature, especially if you're going to be using them for making birdhouses and crafts and things like that, because you want those walls and the gourds to be fully developed and nice and thick for those projects. If you pick them too soon, you'll get really thin walls and they really won't be good for much other than seed saving. A few other ways you could tell if your gourds are fully mature are if the stem that connects to the gourd is turning brown, or you see some dieback on the vine that's connected to that gourd. You'll also see some mold on the outside of your gourd or some tan spots. That's already showing signs of drying out, so you can pick those. Otherwise, you can leave them on the vine all through fall, winter, and part of spring. They should be fully dried by mid-spring, and you can tell when they're dry because they'll turn completely tan and they'll have mold all over them, and they'll be really lightweight, and you can hear the seeds rattling inside. And the gourds could stay outside in the elements through the seasons to dry out. Even if you have rain or snow, it's not going to hurt them at all. It's going to be totally fine. And come spring, you'll have some really nice gourds that you can clean up and make some craft projects out of. Believe it or not, what you're seeing on this fence is only 2 plants, and the variety that I planted was birdhouse gourd, and I just threw actually one of my gourds from last year that I grew. I just composted it, and that's what this plant is. It grew out of the compost from the seeds that were in there. So I didn't realize that I threw some seeds in there, but apparently I must have thrown at least 2 in there because I got 2 plants. Gourds also like really rich soil and quite a bit of water in the beginning. However, mine did really well in drought-like conditions, and I have sandy loam soil. I have noticed though that if you seed them in the shade but they're really close to full sun, they do really, really well. So I think the roots really like to be in the shade in cooler soil. We've actually haven't had any rain all summer, and I've probably only watered my gourd plant maybe twice, so I'm really surprised at how well they did despite not having much water. As far as seed starting goes, I recommend direct sowing your seeds because gourd plants really do not like to be transplanted. If you are going to seed start them early indoors, make sure you plant them out as soon as possible. As soon as it comes up and it's got some true leaves on there, I would get it in the ground because it's going to take some time for it to establish.
Feel how heavy this is.
Oh my God, get it! Wow. Here are some gourds that we harvested earlier in the season. This is our second harvest. This video is of our second harvest, and we'll probably have a third, possibly a fourth harvest sometime in November, depending on how soon we get a frost. Once we get a frost, it will wipe out the plants. They're not frost tolerant at all. So I really don't know when our first frost is going to be. Here's one that is starting to dry already. They dry pretty quickly. It's totally normal to see this black sort of mold all over the gourd because the gourd is basically going to sweat all the water that's inside, and that's how it dries out. So that's totally normal. These will turn completely tan, and then you can wash all the black spots off. They're fairly easy to wash. And then once you hear the seeds rattling inside, you know they're completely dry, and you can start working with them then. So I hope you guys try growing some gourds this year. They are so fun to make things out of. You can make bowls, birdhouses, water bottles, ladles, all kinds of things. And I will do a video showing some of the crafts that we end up making with these once they dry out later. I didn't make any out of the ones that I saved from last year because I kind of destroyed them, but it's okay. But we'll do some videos on these as soon as we can. Here's one that you could see a critter was trying to get into it, scratching. It was probably a raccoon or something, or who knows. But so this one's kind of ruined on the outside, but it could still make a nice little birdhouse. So you can see there's all kinds of fun little shapes. You can paint stuff on these gourds. A lot of people will paint like geese and ducks out of these bottled shaped ones. So they're super fun. My favorite ones are the pear-shaped gourds. Next year, I am planning on growing a bunch of different varieties. I do have some pear and bottle gourds in this batch because they were kind of cross-pollinated with my birdhouse gourds. But I am going to plant some of the bigger round ones that are used for making big bowls and things like that. So I believe it or not, my plants are still blooming, and I will still get gourds out of these flowers that you see here because they grow really, really fast. So we'll see you guys in the next video and hopefully make some birdhouses. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time.